In today's video, I'm going to show you how to digitize text for machine embroidery. In your circle in your classroom, you can download the files attached under this video, and if you're watching on YouTube, click the link in the description to check out the software. Let's get started. Step 1 is to open up our image, and we're going to click on the backdrop. This is where you can import your image, and I'm just going to click load backdrop. Now here I have one of the designs that will be coming up soon, but here is the one that we're going to create today. It says love is everything, and I'm going to click open to bring in the image. Now next, we want to resize this image to the hoop in which we want to embroider. So I'm going to click on my image or my backdrop again, and I'm going to click select backdrop. Now that the image is selected, you can see it's highlighted. I'm going to right click on my software and click properties so that I can open up the settings, and I can see that this image is a little bit too big, currently at 14 inches. I want the image to be 4 inches, so I'm just going to highlight the width or the height, and I'm going to press 4 and press enter so that I can switch it to 4 inches. And now you can see it's a lot smaller. Now, before we close out of the properties, I'm just going to bring down the opacity a little bit so it's easier for you guys to see what we're going to digitize today. Now, you can zoom in by using the scroll wheel as well as up here. Let me just close out of the properties. Besides the zoom and the zoom box, you can see there's fit to screen, zoom 1 to 1, 1 to 3, 1 to 6. You can also use those if you prefer to use fixed zooms, or you can scroll, zoom in and out with your mouse. And to pan around on this design, all I have to do is hold spacebar and click and drag so I can look around my work area. Now, text will vary depending on the size that you want to embroider it. So if you're creating a super huge text on the back of a jacket, you might want to add a little bit more underlays, but for today's video, we're just going to focus on doing smaller text that will go on a chest design. The next step is to select a recipe. So what I'm going to do is go up here on the top left where it says change recipe. You can see that right now the recipe is a canvas, but if we click, we can check out a couple more. Now, I know that this is going to go on a sweatshirt, so I'm going to switch it to a sweatshirt and I'm going to press OK. Now that we selected the sweatshirt recipe, there is going to be the push and pull compensation as well as preset underlays to make your digitizing go a lot faster. The first word we're going to digitize is everything, which is this one down here. And I'm going to start from left to right. So our first shape, we can see it looks a little bit complex. It has different widths all around. It has different angles and as well as curved and sharp points. So we have a couple of options in terms of what tools we can use, but for this one, I believe the best tool is the Satin, and I'm going to show you why. So in our widget tool, when you click on your brush, at the bottom you will see it says Satin. And under the Satin, you will find your input that says fast draw as well as the density of 0.4. We can leave it as that. Now, unlike classic Satin, where you do point, counterpoint, which if you've seen the other videos, we've been using that tool a lot, this one works a little bit more like the artwork tool. So I'm going to place my first point down by doing a left click, and you can see there is my first point. Then I'm going to do a right click, and I'm not doing point counterpoint. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm going to start outlining this whole shape right here. So I'm doing right clicks to create curves, and now here I'm going to do a straight point to create that point. So I'm doing left click to create that straight point. Now to go back into the curves, first I'm going to do another left click to create a straight point, and now I can do right click to start creating curve points once again. And you can see that my goal is to create all of these outlines, all of the curves, and we'll take care of the inclinations or the angles in a bit. Now that I've reached this end right here, I'm going to press left click to create a straight point, then left click again, and I'm going to press left click one more time just so that I can start this other side. So here we go, right click to start creating a curve, right click, and I'm just going to right click all along. If you find that you make a mistake when putting your points down, all you have to do is press backspace on your keyboard and you will go back 1 point. So here I can just fix this up. And as I'm coming to this little edge right here, I'm going to press left click, and I'm going to press left click again because I want to create a straight point and then make sure that this one is also straight. And now we can go back to curves. So right click, right click, right click. And then the last one, I'm just going to go right here and press left click to do a straight point. Now you can see I didn't close it all the way here. And that's the beauty about the software. You don't really have to close your shapes. You don't want to have to go on top like this of the other point. You can leave it as close as you can, and the software will take care of closing that gap for you. So I'm going to press enter. And you can see we have now created that satin shape. But next, we need to add our inclinations. And another word for inclinations is our angles. So as you can see, when I hover around the outline that we just created, which is colored black right now, there is a little circle that lets me click and drag. So I'm clicking and I'm holding my mouse and I'm going to drag to the other side. So I am creating the angle of the stitches. You can see that this is from one end to the other. So the stitch will start stitching out like this, but the shape has more than just one angle. So I have to add a couple more. Next, I'm going to add my second one. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag to create my second point. Now, instead of having just one angle, which was the 45 going like that, it's going to have another one, which means that the shape is going to start curving like so. So let's put the next one, which is going to be up here. Click, hold, and drag, click, hold, and drag. And remember that even while I'm editing my shape, I can always hold spacebar so that I can pan around and get a better look of my shape. So here we go. We're going to add a couple other points right here. Click, hold, and drag, click, hold, and drag, click, hold, and drag right there. And now I can see that this 3, it almost has, it looks like a 3, but in reality it's an E. We want to just try to find the best curves for it from one end to the other so that it looks really nice and smooth. So here, click, hold, and drag, click, hold, and drag. And as you can see, now all of those points are set. So I'm going to press enter on my keyboard because I've added all of my inclination points. Enter. And now we have the start and stop. This is where your stitches will start embroidering, and which is the green one, and the red one is where your stitches will stop embroidering. For now, we're just going to press enter. And if I enable my 3D view, you can see that it created that. Let me change the color to red so it's a little easier for you guys to see. And there we go. We have the different angles of where the stitches are stitching out. So as opposed to just doing one solid angle, which would be a horizontal, it starts going like this and it goes around, it starts curving, then it goes to this sharp edge or end, and then it goes all the way to over here to this shape. So that's the beauty of the satin tool, is that you can create very complex shapes very quickly in an artwork form, and then you just add your inclinations after that, so your angles, to make a really nice shape. So let's just click in the middle of our widget tool because I already have the satin enabled. And again, if you by mistake changed the shape or changed your brush, all you have to do is go back to the brush up here in your widget, and you can go down to your satin and change your density or the input. I really like using fast draw, and by default we have fast draw so we can draw really fast. So let's do the same thing with the V. So I'm going to hold my spacebar to pan around, make sure I can place my workspace very well, so it's easier for me to digitize the whole shape, as opposed to like being so zoomed in that I have to be moving all over the place, putting so many points down at 600%, and I will put even at 1/6. This is perfect for me to digitize. I'm going to left click to put my first point, and here we have 2 straight points, so it's perfect. So I will put the first one down here, then the second one down here. I don't really need to be putting points in between these because it's just one straight line. And now I can start curving this shape. So I'm right clicking, and here I'll zoom in so it's easier for you guys to see. Just right clicking all the way around. And here I'm going to do left point because I want it to be sharp. Another one so I can create that really nice cusp. And now I'm going to right click, right click, right click. And I can right click to start creating the next shape. You can see I'm not putting too many points down because those are very unnecessary, especially as you start zooming in so much. So try and use the left click to create the straight points and the right click for the curve points. as necessary as it's needed, but not too much, okay? So here we go. I'm still working under a curve point, but I can now switch to a straight point, and I'm just gonna come as close as I can to that last point and press enter with that last straight point. Here we go. We have our second shape, and we're gonna do exactly the same thing. I just pressed enter, and now we can add our inclinations. So I'm going to click and drag because I want to ensure that this goes horizontally, and now it can start curving around this area. Click and drag to start adding those inclinations, and for this one I'm just going to make sure it ends something like that. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to press enter and enter. There we go. So now we have the V. That looks amazing, and as you can see, because we have the smart join enabled on the software, the E automatically changed its stop position to ensure that these two shapes are connecting and your machine won't be jumping all over the place. Let's move on to the next letter, and that's the letter E. And as you can see, it's becoming a little bit more complex, or so it seems, but in reality it's very simple. So as you can see, the last stitch, and if you press Q on your keyboard, you can see your start and your stop. If you don't see it, just make sure you go all the way to the top left and ensure that your commands are enabled and your view entry and exit are enabled. That way you'll be able to see the scissors as well as your green and stop, which is the red one. And here we can make sure we modify this if we need to. So we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with the V. Let's create our first point right here. And then I'm going to make sure that I do another straight point right down there. So I'm going to now right click to start creating this curve like so. I'm just going to right click and then hold the space bar so that I can pan around and make sure I have space to move around. If your widget tool gets in the way, all you have to do is hold the center to move it out of the way so you can continue digitizing. And I'm right clicking just like I did with the first two letters. Now here I'm going to left click once again, and I'm just overlapping it ever so slightly on the next letter because these stitches will go underneath the R, which means that there will be no gaps. So here we go, left click one more time, and then I can right click to return the other way around. I'm going to try to make these as close as possible, but I don't really need to overlap them so much or at all. And here we go, I'm just right clicking to create these curves all the way to the end here. And now I'm going to press enter. What's the next step? We get to put our inclination points. So I want to start from this end to that end, from one side to the other, and start adding my inclinations or my angles to this shape to make it look super nice and pretty. As this is embroidering, the satin just makes letters look so beautiful, and that's what we get to do here. So I've added all of those inclination points. If you need to edit some, as you get closer to these inclinations, you can click and hold to move them around, change the location. If you right click, you can delete each point if you've added too many. And now I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to press enter. And I'm going to press enter one more time. Now, as you can see, the smart join took care of the next connection. So as the V was going to create a trim up here, it instead decided, hey, we have another shape, so we're going to connect somewhere right here, which is the closest point, and now it's digitized the E. It's pretty awesome how fast that is. All right, here we go. We got the R, and here we can do the same thing. We can just put our first point down, and I'm just going to place my second point. I'm just doing left click at this point because, I mean, it's just straight shapes. So we're putting a couple points like that, and I'm going to press enter. Now I can put my inclination points, and all I have to do is go from one side to the other, and then one side to the other, and press enter and enter. Easy as pie. So next, let's do this other R right here. And here for this one, I'm just going to left click and then left click once again. And now I'm just going to right click to start creating my curves like so, go all the way around. And then here I'll press left for that last point and now enter. put my point down, my inclination, and let's curve the shape a little bit to give it more dimension, and press enter and enter. Perfect. If we go to 1:1, you can see as we really zoom out, that looks very nice. It's looking super clean, and you can't even really see that connection between the V and R. So I'm pretty happy with this. Now, as I zoom in, you can see it still looks very nice, and we can continue with the other letters. Let's take care of this Y. And now, as you saw with the R, I kind of decided to split the shape. So far, with the rest of them, we've been creating shapes in one go, but some letters are a little bit more complex, and the satin stitch has a limit to how wide it can be. Plus, you also want to make it look clean and make it look really nice and rich. So that's why sometimes you'll see that some letters are split into different shapes versus others that are simple, like an E and a V, will be made up of one shape. Now this Y right here is a little bit complex, so let's take care of doing this one. And for this, we're just going to create the shape right here first. I can kind of already map it out in my mind that I want this shape right here, and I'm doing right click to be its own shape, so it'll be part of the Y. Right here, I'm right clicking, and I'm going to left click to create my straight points like so. Let's put our inclination points like so, and let's start angling them by clicking and dragging, and then we can press enter. Now, as you can see, I went under the other one that we're going to create because I want to make sure that there's no gaps between these two, so I just overlap it ever so slightly. That's done, so let's take care of this shape. And you're probably like, how am I even supposed to digitize this? Well, let's think about this. We want to continue connecting from the shape to the right, which means that we actually kind of need this shape right here to be its own, because this will work as a connection. So just how we did the E, you can almost imagine this is a version of the E. Let's get started by putting our first point down here and then the second one. And I'm just zooming in a lot so that I can show you guys very clearly how I'm digitizing it. In reality, you don't want to be this zoomed in. And then I'm going to start right clicking to go around, create this loop. And now I'm going to go all the way up here. I'm just doing straight points, and I'm going to start doing curve points because we're getting into this angle and curve. So here we go. We'll stop it right there, and we can press enter. Now we have to put our inclinations. So let's do straight all the way here. Let's do another one right here, and then we can start curving it over here until we get that nice result. So there we go. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to press enter one more time, and we created that part of the Y. Now we still have this connection, so let's take care of that. I'm going to left click, right click, left click, and then just overlap it a little bit to create this other shape, and I can press enter, putting a couple inclination points, enter and enter, and as you can see, in a couple of steps, we were able to create the shape, which initially it looked super complex, but in reality, it's very simple. Now we've arrived to the letter T, and usually the letter T will be digitized in different ways, but because this design is very small, I'm just going to create it in one shape. So let's get started. I'm going to left click and then right click. By the way, when it comes to my first point, I'm not really too picky of where I'm placing it. I'm just kind of selecting a point where I will feel comfortable finishing the shape. But in reality, I'm not being too picky of where I want that left click. So here we go. I'm just overlapping this a little bit. And as you can see, very quickly, I was able to create this shape. Now, I've included these two sides of the T, and the reason I've done so is because I have plans to just create all of them horizontally like so. So we're going to do horizontal, horizontal, and I'm talking about the inclination points, and here we'll start the curve. Enter, enter. There we go. Now, here it's looking a little bit weird, right? In the software, it kind of looks like there's going to be some spacing happening. So let's take care of that, because in the render, we're going to do our best to make it look as clean as possible. On your keyboard, you can either press Q, or you can also go up here where it's the shape edit and click the path edit. Here we can start editing the nodes that we create. So if we want to modify these a little bit, let's say I want to make them bigger just to exaggerate them ever so slightly to make them look better. But I can see that the nodes are actually okay. It's more of the angles that I've added. So instead of pressing Q, I'm going to press W, and under that same little box, you can see path edit, inclination edit. So when that is enabled, we can click on the shape, and now we can edit our inclinations. So I'm just going to move this one around. Whoops, I added that by accident. That looks horrible, so I'm going to right click on it and press delete. There we go, we fixed that very quickly. I'm going to add 2 points right here, and then I'm going to add 2 more points right here. And now we can press A or click select, and you can see that is much better, much cleaner. So there we go. Fix that up in a couple of minutes. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to press in the middle of my widget, and let's take care of the H. I'm going to put my first point down, my second one, my third one, my fourth one, and just finish it up right there. Same thing, the shape is a little complex, so I'm splitting it into 2, and I'm pressing enter to put my inclination points. Start and stop don't really matter because Smart Join is taking care of all of that. Perfect. Let's do the same thing. So I'm going to left click, and then left click, and now I can start my curve points to go all the way around. Let's keep going like so. And then here we go, just overlap it ever so slightly, like so. So left click and right click. All of these are right click right now because I'm doing a bunch of curve points. And now I'm gonna press enter. Perfect. Now here, as you can see, I kind of left a big gap between my first and my last point, but that's okay because as soon as I put that inclination point, even if it's around the edge of that open shape, I can still start adding my inclinations. And here we go, I'm going to go around my inclinations and finish right here, then press enter and enter. The program took care of closing that shape like so. It's still looking super clean. Let's continue. Now we have the eye, and of course we have this little circle right here, but I think I'm going to leave that for after so that we can stitch it out very cleanly on its own. As you can see, I'm just going to press randomly my first point. Maybe I'll select it here because I don't think it really matters that much where we put our first point down, as long as we're able to create that shape super clean. And I'm going to left click because it's a straight shape, left click, and then right click all around. So let's go right here. Perfect. And now I can press enter, put my inclination, and then just go around, pressing enter and enter. And there we go. We have every that we just got to add that little circle, but we'll take care of that after. Now, as you can see, we have a couple of shapes that look very similar. So if we really wanted to, and I highly suggest that you continue practicing this manually so that you get used to the tool, but if you really wanted to, you can, for example, grab this shape right here, which looks very similar to the N. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the shape by pressing A or select on my toolbar. I'm going to select this R and I'm going to click copy. Then I'm going to go to the I and I'm going to right click. Let's do digitize after, and I'm going to do Control V or paste, and you can do so right here, which says paste. You can right click here that says paste, and I'm pasting it. Now I just want to make sure that under my sequence view, if I open this up, it digitizes at the end, which is perfect. So now what we're gonna do is click and drag, and we're going to bring it over here. If you disable the 3D, you can move it around and make sure you put the shape as close as it can. It pretty much replicates the N. So again, you have two options. You can either choose to create it manually, but if you already have some other shapes, you can also copy and paste them. Now, this is where a bit of an issue comes in because we copied and pasted a shape the smart join didn't automatically recognize where the last shape was. So now we have two trims right here, which means that there is another step to make, and we're going to press Q on our keyboard, or we're going to click path edit. And on our path edit, you can see the stop didn't automatically change, so we have to do so manually. I'm going to click and drag and just bring it to this side, and you can see that that scissors that was here because it was going to trim is no longer there because now the shapes are connecting. So there is two versions to do this. I find that just creating it manually becomes a lot faster. As you get used to it, you can see how fast you can right click to create your curve points, then straight points, and then go back to creating curve points like so. Let's just go all the way around, curve points, curve points. I'm going to press enter. Let's put my inclinations down very quickly, 1, 2, and go all the way around. Make sure it looks a little pretty. There we go, and enter. So we have many endless options on creating designs like this. I'm going to press left point, and then right click to go around and create my curves all the way around this way. Finish up about here. So left, and remember overlapping ever so slightly, and then right click to create all of these points like so, and just finish up around here. We're gonna press enter, and we're gonna put our inclination points, make them look super pretty so that we get those really nice curves on our digitizing. As we're done here, I'm going to press enter. The smart join will work because it's a new shape, so it will take care of that. And here we go. We have the other shape which we created earlier that looks super complex, but now that we know how to create it, we can tell this is very simple. So I want you guys to take the chance to practice this and see where should you use the left point, where should you use the curve points, and what's the best way to split a shape to create a really nice result. So I'm just going to create it like this. I'm going to add my inclination points. Like I said, you don't have to close the whole shape because the program will still take care of it. I try to add as minimal angles as I need to keep it clean. Here we go. Press enter and enter. And the last one right here, I'm going to just create it super quickly and enter. Inclination, inclination. Perfect. There we go. That looks awesome. Now here, if we want to, be a little bit extra, all we have to do is press Q on our keyboard, and you can see that the shape is finishing somewhere around up here, which is where the stop is. I'm just gonna move that stop to here so that I can hide that start and stop, and I can see the angle of this maybe isn't super clean, so let's do it one more time. I'm going to press W on my keyboard, and I'm going to modify these like so it looks even cleaner. Oh man, that looks so much better. So W, or you can go here to your shape edit and click on the inclination edit. Perfect. So let's zoom out. Let's go 1:1. Ooh, that looks very pretty. What do you guys think so far? We still have this little circle, so let's take care of this. And what I'm going to do, again, we have lessons coming up for inclination points. So I'm going to create a straight point like this, and I'm going to create some curve points, and then I'm going to create some straight points like this. Because of push and pull compensation, something happens with the circles where instead of looking like circles, they end up looking like eggs. So this is just a neat little trick on taking care of that. There we go. We finished that shape right there. And so far we have two trims because we made sure that this whole shape is going to finish stitching on this end right here. And then it's going to create that circle. Now we just have the last one, which is love is. We already know what to do, so let's take care of this L. This is going to be all straight points, so I'm going to click left, 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 and just go all the way around and make sure that I put it as close as I can. That's pretty good. So first inclination point, we are going to add one right here. We're going to add one more here, but because I want this to be gradual, I don't just want it to go like this and then start automatically changing the points all the way from there. I'm going to add another straight point here. That way, this whole shape will be horizontal, and I'm talking about the top will be horizontal, and only from here to here will it start transitioning into that angle. Same thing here. I pretty much wanted to start transitioning from here to a vertical. So as you can see, I'm going to press enter, and it's all horizontal until around this shape where it's going to transition, and then it's going all vertical. Just a couple tricks to make it easier on your digitizing. Next, let's take care of the O. So here we go. I'm going to press straight, and then I'm going to go around this whole shape by pressing curves. Let's make it pretty. So I'm going to add a couple points. So, and then I'm going to switch to straight. Same thing down here. I just put straight point, then a curve right there, and then a straight like so. And then we're going to go back here. Let me just make sure I aligned it a little nicer. Then I can do straight. And now we're going to take care of the outside. Here I'll do 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and those are all curves. Now I'm going to switch to a round. Go all the way up here. Let's do a round, and then let's do a straight point. And then just make sure I match that as close as I can. And then one last straight point. Perfect. Then I'm going to press enter. Let's put our inclination points like so. I'll put some up here on each end. Let's do another one right here. And let's do one more right here. Now, we can start angling them. So I'm going to add one here. 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 And I only wanted to start transitioning maybe somewhere around this area, somewhere around this area, and for this part, somewhere around here and somewhere around here. So I know it sounds a little confusing, but as you start practicing with this shape a little bit more and with the tool, all of these pillars right here will be horizontal, and only from this area to this area will it start transitioning into a curve. So I'm going to press enter and enter, and you can see horizontal, transitioning to that curve, horizontal, transition into that curve. Let's take care of this V right here because it's pretty awesome and super simple. Here's what we're gonna do. We're going to put our first point, second point, and it's just gonna be straight. Then I'm going to overlap this ever so slightly, like so. And then here we go. We're going to create this part right here, and we're just going to create a rectangle, an angled rectangle. We're going to press enter, put our first and our second inclination. Perfect. Start and stop. Awesome. And as you can see, this design has automatically been connecting, so we have little trims. Let's take care of this other side of the V. And here we go. I'm going to press, let's start over here. Let's do left click, and I'm going to do all the way down here, left click, and I'm going to overlap this ever so slightly to create the top side, and left click right there. So you can see it almost looks like an inverted L. So, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to create this, and it just looks super clean if we create two shapes like that. So here we go. I'm going to put the first point down and the second one somewhere over here, enter and enter. Very nice. I like the way that looks. Now I find the letter E to be the funniest one to digitize because it has this little stick right here. And if you want to make your designs look super clean, the best way to do is to connect them in a way where this will be digitized first. But how are we going to be able to digitize this whole thing? Because it's technically two shapes. So it would be from here to create this top of the E, and then this one down here. So the best way to create this is to utilize the Run tool. And we're going to use the Run tool to make a really nice connection. Now, I'm going to switch on my Run tool. So from Satin, I'm switching to Run, and I'll leave the rest of the settings the same because I think it looks good. Let's add a little point right here. So again, I'm super zoomed in, so I don't really want to be doing that. I'm going to add a point somewhere here because I'm creating my subway system. This is a little train that is going to help me connect from the previous shape to the next one. So as you can see, the trim or the scissors were somewhere down here, and now because I've started that point somewhere here, it's going to create a connection so we can digitize the shape first. A little subway system. Now I'm going to press Q on my keyboard, and here I can see the stop. I'm just going to bring that down a little bit so it's not super obvious where that stitch point is going to be. I think somewhere in between the two shapes is perfect. Awesome. Now that we've done that, let's switch it back to a satin. So we're going to go back to satin, and let's create the shape super quickly because we're dividing the shape into two, pressing enter, and we want this shape to go vertically. There we go. Enter and enter. We've created that vertical shape, and now we can take care of the rest. So I'm going to press left, left, just to create all of these straight points all the way around, left, left, and let's go all the way back down. Perfect. Now that we have that, let's put our inclinations. So I'm going to make sure that I curve these. Let's put an inclination over here, and let's put an inclination right here. And now we're going to add the ones that is going to help us gradually transition into those curves or those angles. So here I'm going to add a transition. Here I'm going to add a transitioning angle, one more transitioning angle, and one more transitioning angle. Perfect. Enter and enter. There we go. If we zoom out, you can see we now have the E, which looks amazing. And again, I'm going to press Q, and I'm just going to bring the stop somewhere around in here so it kind of becomes invisible. Awesome. Now we have the last two letters. Let's take care of them. It's going to be super easy. Let's do the I. So left click, left click, left click to create a straight point, and all the way around. Next, let's do horizontal, horizontal. Perfect. And we can press enter and enter. Look at how quickly that was. Now, before we finish this design, I just wanted to share with you a bit of experience that I've had with digitizing, because for the longest time when it comes to text, I used to use the classic satin, and I've always struggled with the letter S. And that is because I have to do straight points. So I have to go around and I have to find a way to curve them. And I just could never really find the best way to curve an S. I feel like especially around this area, I would start making mistakes, and you can see it's not aligning the best, because with the classic satin, not only are you creating the point and the counterpoint, so it's different to the other tool which we've been using, but all of these angles will also get set already. So honestly, when it comes to doing S's, satin is now my favorite tool. So let's press left click, left click. Let's start creating all of these awesome angles that will take me so much less time than if I were to have to use the classic satin. Again, all of these tools, they all have their purpose, which is amazing because you have the ability to mix and match, to use them wherever you feel most comfortable. And for me, ever since the satin exists, I just love using this for fonts, and it has been such a joy to digitize. So you can already see it took me way less just by doing a bunch of curves and straight points. And I'm going to press enter. Let's start adding our inclination points, our gradual inclination points. And here we go. Let's add this one like so. Start gradually changing them, make this look a little bit nicer. And let's finish this shape right here. Enter and enter. Perfect. All right, we're gonna do fit screen. Love is everything. And here we go. We now have the design done. We have how many trims? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this should be relatively a quick design to embroider. 3,300 stitches. And I'm going to click select all and just change the color to purple. I love this design. Actually, I think I kind of like the red a little bit more. So you know what? We're going to leave it red because, I mean, it's love after all. Now, if I do Shift R, I can see my redraw, and you can also enable your redraw on your toolbar at the top. And here we go. We're going to press play. Let's make sure I just disable my backdrop. And here we go. That is the first start of the design. So we're starting with that letter, which is the E. It's going all around, creating the V, the E, automatically connecting the best it can. Perfect. THING, our first trim. Then it's going to do that little circle on the I, then take care of the rest of the letters. Oh man, I love this so much because it's going to come out super clean. Now, before embroidering this, we need to save the design. So at the top left, we're going to click Save As, wherever you choose to save it. Love is everything. And very important, you want to make sure to save your files as a JDX because this is the native file which will allow you to open it up again on your program and re-edit, change things, change the size, change anything that you want on this. So I'm going to click save, and now we have the native file saved on our computer. So now we can export the actual file for our machine. I'm going to click save as again. Here we go. I have Love is Everything now saved as a JDX, and under save as type, you can change that to PES, DST, JEF, depending on the machine that you have. Now I use a Tajima machine, so I'm going to save mine as a DST. Here we go, and I'm going to click save. Awesome. Now we have one more thing to do, and that's to embroider it. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. That's the end result of the Love is Everything embroidery design. Beautiful and ready to be stitched out on any sweater of your choice. And just like that, with few tools and a couple of tips and tricks, we can get any text we want done. Inner Circle members, don't forget to download your lesson files below. Not a member yet? Join the Inner Circle and get access to exclusive bonuses, hands-on training, and everything you need to master embroidery digitizing. Click the link in the description to get started. Want to keep learning? Check out these tutorials next and take your embroidery skills even further.